The European Union has pledged to cut greenhouse gas emissions by 55% or by the end of the decade.
They are lying, and the results will be catastrophic.
The decision has resulted to cause discomfort in the Netherlands' lucrative agriculture sector.
Oil and gas stocks are rising, driven by rallying oil and gas prices.
The omniscient planners then attempt to justify this with the standard empty threats and promises. The suffering is certain. If you're seeking the cause of the Dutch agriculture and fisheries protests, the Canadian trucker convoy, or before that, the rise of the so-called Yellow Jackets in France, the farmer rebellion in India a few years ago, the recent catastrophic collapse of Sri Lanka, or the energy crises in Europe and Australia, you can instruct yourself by the recent pronouncements from Deloitte. While not directly responsible, they offer an insight into the elite groupthink that has triggered these events, into the cabal of centralizing globalist utopians operating in the media, corporate and government fronts, wielding a nightmarish vision of environmental apocalypse, and one that is now threatening the very survival of that self-same EU. The report opens with two claims. First, that the storms, wildfires, droughts, downpours, and floods around the globe in the last 18 months are unique and unprecedented. A dubious claim. And implicitly, that the science is now at a point where we can say, without doubt, that experts can and must model the entire ecology and economy of the planet. Who dares deny such facts, stated so mathematically, so precisely, so scientifically? There are lies, damned lies, statistics, and computer models. Computer model does not mean data, and even data does not mean fact or real world. Computer model means at best hypotheses posing as mathematical fact. No real scientist ever says, follow the science. Yet, this is exactly what bodies such as the EU consistently pronounce, pushing for collectivist solutions that often and inevitably do more harm than good. Solutions in sovereignty. What might we rely on instead to guide us forward in these times of accelerating trouble and possibility? Valid authority rests in the people. Truly valid structures of authority are local, not centralized for reasons of efficiency and emergency. This must not become the generation of yet another top-down Tower of Babel that will not solve our problems, just as similar attempts have failed to solve our problems in the past. Ask yourself, are these Deloitte models, which are supposed to guide all the important decisions we make about the economic security and opportunity of families and the structures of our civil societies, accurate enough even to give those who employ them any edge whatsoever, say, in predicting the performance of a stock portfolio, one based on green energy, say, over the upcoming years? The answer is no. How do we know? Because if such accurate models existed, the global economy, let alone the environment, is simply too complex to model. It is for this reason, fundamentally, that we have and require a free market system. The free market is the best model of the environment we can generate. Let me repeat that with a codicil. Not only is the free market the best model of the environment we can generate, it is and will remain the best model that can, in principle, ever be generated, with its widely distributed computations constituting the totality of the choices of 7 billion people. It simply cannot be improved upon, certainly not by presumptuous, power-mad globalist utopians who think that hiring someone, mysteriously manipulating a few carefully chosen numbers and then reading the summarized output means genuine contact with the reality of the future and the generation of knowledge unassailable on both the ethical and the practical front. The combined cost of the upfront investments in decarbonization, coupled with the already locked-in damages of climate change, would temporarily lower economic activity compared to the current emissions-intensive path. The omniscient planners then attempt to justify this with the standard empty threats and promises. The suffering is certain, the benefits ethereal. Those most exposed to the economic damages of unchecked climate change would also have the most to gain from embracing a low emissions future. Really, tell that to the African and Indian populations in the developing world, lifted from poverty by coal and natural gas. And think, really think about this statement. Existing industries would be reconstituted as a series of complex, interconnected, emissions-free energy systems, energy, mobility, industry, manufacturing, food and land use, and negative emissions. That sounds difficult, don't you think? To rebuild everything at once, and better, without breaking everything. Fixing everything in a few decades in a blindly panicked rush while demonizing anyone who dares object. And what will it take to do so? Here's the most alarming part. Nothing more than, quote, a coordinated transition that will require governments, along with the financial services and technology sectors, to catalyze, facilitate, and accelerate progress, foster information flows across systems, and align individual incentives with collective goals. A clearer statement of totalitarian inclination could hardly be penned. Certain outcomes versus predicted outcomes. The one thing the Deloitte models guarantee is that if we do what they recommend, we will definitely be poorer than we would have been otherwise for an indefinite but hypothetically transitory period. Yet, any reduction in economic output, however temporary and necessary, will be purchased at the cost of the lives of those who are barely making it now. Period.